What's up, guys?
Alright, YouTube, this is Chris Bowling. He has a lot of credentials in the game. I'm going to let him tell you who he is, though, and ask him a bunch of questions for you guys. So, how long have you played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh?
Dang, that's a long time. Well, I first started playing the game whenever I was 12 years old, actually. Me and my brother, we were at a GameStop that was like attached to this Barnes & Nobles we always went to, and we were just trying to look for something fun to do, and we saw the Yu-Gi-Oh TV show, and they had the starter decks. So me and my brother, we got a Blue Eyes and a Dark Magician starter deck, and because I was like the older brother and stuff. My brother's Kyle Bowling, by the way. Some of you guys, probably know him. And I noticed that, I gave myself the Blue Eyes deck so I could beat Dark Magician.
Yeah.
Because it had higher attack power. So I was like, I want the Blue Eyes deck. So we started playing with that and looking at the rule book and trying to figure out the game. And we had fun playing it. And this was probably whenever I was about 12 years old. And then we started, figuring out some local tournaments and kind of going to there. And I've always been a very competitive person. So anything I do, I have to, get better and better at it and kind of perfect my skills. I guess I'm kind of a little bit of a perfectionist by nature. And started playing the tournaments and then started playing when I started winning locals and started going regionals, and when I started winning regionals, then started traveling a bit, and then whenever I started topping some of my first Shonen Jump I flew to, I topped, and then just kept on at it.
Which one was that?
It was St. Louis.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one with the 3 Stratos?
I didn't go.
That was so ridiculous because you could use 3 Stratos, and summon Stratos, search out Stratos.
I think at that point I only had played in Texas events at that point, possibly.
Yeah, we were all frantically trying to get 3 Stratos for the event, and we had this deck that had like 3 Bazu, 3 Card Trooper, 3 Cyber Dragon, 3 Dimension Fusion, Dark Magician of Chaos. It was really good and had like a lot of broken stuff to it, and DDT was better though, and we figured out our Mark Glass. He picked us up from the airport, and that was my first time meeting him, and he was running DDT, and we were playtesting against him the night before, and we were like, holy crap, this deck's broken, and we didn't know anything about Diamond Dude, or I didn't even know what a Diamond Dude did until I read it, and we were frantically like scrambling to like build a side deck to be able to beat it. And the only reason I topped that event was because of my playtesting with Mark Glass. I played against Augustin Herrera in the main event on day 1, and I had Spell Canceller in my side deck and got Spell Canceller out on him, and it like shut down his deck and he couldn't get through it. And I cited like 3 Lightning Vortex or something, and that really helped.
Pretty cool. Spell Canceller is actually relevant again today. People side deck it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's kind of funny. People side deck it for Necroz, which is one of the top decks.
Yeah, my second Shonen top, whenever I was using DDT, I actually sided Spell Canceller, even though my deck was mainly just all spells. If I got it out on the mirror match, then usually it was pretty deadly.
So what are all of your accomplishments in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh? I know you might not remember all of them, but...
Well, I have 17 major tops in YCS tournaments, Shonen Jumps, and national tournaments. So that's quite a few. I think it's around, I don't even know anymore, or I lost track. I think it was around 27, 29 regional tops. And I innovated a lot of different decks and added a lot of tech to it that kind of allowed me to have an advantage over the field, and that was what it was all about. We play tested a lot against each other, and we kind of used the metagame, and then we started branching from the metagame and figuring out how to exploit the metagame. So then we would have like the first element of how to exploit the metagame, and then we would have the tech ourselves, and then we'd figure out how to beat the tech. So it's like we figured out how to exploit the tech, and then then the other person, playtesting partner like Ryan Spicer or something, or like Philly or something, he'd figure out, okay, if I use this, they can, beat the tech, and then I would have to, say, okay, if they're using that, then, how do I beat that? And then our decks would keep on battling each other. So then whenever we'd go to the tournaments, then we would know kind of what level people are at based on like different cards they're using their deck, like in their deck, and we knew how to kind of exploit their strategy like most effectively.
Where was your Worlds? It was Italy?
It was in Berlin, Germany.
In Berlin, yeah.
It was awesome. It was an awesome experience, and it was a great Worlds too.
Yeah, I remember you brought back a ton of that. What was the card? It was like that Cerebus. Yeah, people like that card.
Yeah. I went around. I'm kind of naturally, my whole family's like entrepreneurial, very entrepreneurial. So I was definitely in the hustling scene in Yu-Gi-Oh. A lot of people remember me by that, and I noticed that those cards, like somebody texted me that like they were selling on eBay that very day for like $100. And it was the same card that if you walked in the building, they handed it to you for free in a little goodie bag.
Yeah.
So I kept on like walking in and out and grabbing as many goodie bags as I could. And then I kept on going around and asking if anybody wanted to sell it for €4 or €5. And then also, I think it was Mizuki.
Yeah.
Wow. It's been like 3.5 years, but I still remember the card's name.
It was really easy to get over there and hard.
Yeah, they were very easy to get. So I went around buying those for €4 or €5 each, also, and and then stacked up like 55 of those promo cards and sold them back here, and nice little profit.
So, what do you do with your life now?
Right now, I play poker for a living. I'm a professional poker player. I've been playing for the past 2.5 years. I felt like it was a journey for me to find a game that was really skilled. That's what I really enjoy in a game, is a skill element. So it's like, you have control over, your decisions you make in a game. So I want to be able to maximize the amount of control I have over me winning, and then also be able to play the game that will net me the most profit from playing it. So with those two combinations, I went from Yu-Gi-Oh! And then to Magic because they had higher payout, and the game, at the time, Magic was more skilled than Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know the state of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, but I felt like you could gain a higher edge based on your skill in the game about topping events consistently, etc. And then I discovered poker, and I feel like poker is even more skilled than the two former. And then of course the payout is way higher than even Magic the Gathering.
Would you say that you picked up anything from Yu-Gi-Oh! Skill-wise that helps you in poker currently?
Definitely. In poker, in No Limit Hold'em, you may be familiar with it. Some of you may, some of you not. But you get 2 hole cards that, which is your hand, every single hand. So the whole goal of poker is to play the hand, each and every hand, the most profitable that you can. And every single opponent gets the same set of hands, over the course of a sample size. So you try to play each hand the most profitably that you can. So whenever you have 2 cards throughout the game, you have a flop, a turn, and a river, and they're community cards that you can both use. So your opponent, if you're playing heads up or you're playing 3-way, well, throughout the course of the hand, you have options of raise, bet, fold, raise, or call. Those are your options. So based on what your opponent does, you can deduct what 2 cards they have in their hand. Very similarly, in the way that if you have 2 face down, if your opponent has 2 face down spell or trap cards, and say I summon a second monster, and they would have torrentialed if they had torrential, and if they don't, then I can deduct, okay, they don't have torrential face down. So, maybe if they set a 3rd trap card and I don't want to get torrentialed, I might MST that one because I feel like I deduct that the other 2 aren't torrential. In the same way in poker, if you, say if you make a bet, and then if if they would have had, these like hands, then they would have raised if they had that hand, but they called, then you can start deducting hands that they don't have, and then you can narrow down what's called their range, which means the possible hands that they can have, and you can start narrowing it down, so you can figure out what your opponent has and what's the best play against the possible hands they can have. Just like in Yu-Gi-Oh, you can start deducting what's the best play based on what trap cards they can have face down.
As one who has accomplished most everything there is to do in Yu-Gi-Oh, what advice would you hand down to newer players hoping to achieve the same?
Okay. I think one of the most beneficial things to becoming very successful in Yu-Gi-Oh is a playtesting group with friends, because it's all about having fun, and if you're not having fun, then you're not going to do as well as the other people that are having fun playtesting. Because if you're just, you have a good playtesting group, you have friends that are all passionate about playing too, then, you're more motivated to work together in a group and to get better and better. As far as techniques, I can show you real quick. Let's see. Something I used to do in Yu-Gi-Oh was whenever I was working on decks, I would see like some sample hands, what they'd look like, and I would lay down like this, like opening hands, and I guess now there's 5 cards, so you can, lay down that. But if you just keep on laying down sample hands, then you can kind of see how your deck draws. So, this is like a GOAT format deck, and if you keep on doing this with the whole deck, then you can just see a lot of sample hands, and you can see potential problems that your deck may run into in opening hands and cards that don't flow well. I feel like that helped me a lot. Something that really helped me too was also playing against myself. Like, I would take 2 decks that I was, I had 2 decks built that I play tested, and I was wanting to know, which one was better, or maybe friends like, my playtesting group, they couldn't always play. So to get more time in, I would play the decks against myself and think about the individual decisions that go into the game, and kind of like how everything played out. And just really thinking about that, I could see where potential problems were, or different things I needed to do to make my deck more consistent, or beat another deck. And it also helped being able to actually see the hands and seeing the cards, because it would help me visualize when I was playing kind of the whole game tree, like how everything played out.
And what was your, I don't know if I already asked this, what was your favorite format?
My favorite format would probably have to be Gladiator Beast that I won Nationals in. I love that format because I felt like it was one of the most skilled formats. Not because I just won Nationals in it, but it was really skilled because most, like, instead of like, you draw first turn and then you can just like destroy your opponent or they can't come back, it was really back and forth. And the most you could do usually was about 2,400 damage with a Geyseris, and it was just all about summoning and attacking, and then the same thing with your opponent, and playing everything correctly. And people were liable to make a lot of mistakes in the game, and kind of like the whole like decisions that they made. And that's really where the skill advantage comes in Yu-Gi-Oh, because if both opponents have the same cards, and if you were making the same decisions that your opponent was making, then if you reversed it and you were on your opponent's side, then there's no skill in that. But really the skill comes in when you would make a play, or you run a card in your deck that allows you to make a play that your opponent would not have made in your stead. So in Gladiator Beasts, there's a lot of plays that were accessible to do that a lot of people wouldn't know to do. Like, there's a lot of really interesting plays, stuff with like, Book of Moon, or, summoning and booking this, and then like setting this face down, and then just like special summoning Geyseris and blowing up too. Like there's a whole bunch of intricacies to it that people would just mess up, and that allowed the pros to top the events and really kind of record numbers. If you look during that format, the players that topped, it was tons and tons of pros like all topping the event.
That's about all I have to ask you today. Hopefully you'll join us in our documentary for the team segment and talking about teams and how they impacted the game. Teams were a really huge thing that kind of have just dissipated. Like, people have playtesting groups, but they don't really have teams anymore. Like, the term team has kind of just gone out there, you know.
Yep.
But thanks for joining us. Anything
no
to shout out towards the end here?
Well, I'm thinking about starting my own Twitch channel pretty soon, playing poker. So if anybody's interested in that, kind of let me know, because I'm thinking about starting it up. And then if anybody, I do have a YouTube channel, Christopher Bowling. I do post some poker content on there. So anything that you want to see, you can just feel free to suggest it. And yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.